It's time now to tackle the headline, and while the preliminary finalists will prepare to face off, plenty of other teams have a very, very busy trade period coming up. We're taking a look at the most important trade period clubs and what they're going to face. Scotty, take us to Moorabbin.
Well, they've got a lot of money to throw around. They're throwing around all sorts of directions. Now, they lost Josh Battles, so defence issue. Midfield, Brad Crouch, unfortunately his knee, only played one game this year.
Won't play? Gone?
Gone, I believe. Tough call, but he's most likely going to have to retire at least. Jack McRae. So the Bulldogs, they're landed in his lap. Let's be honest.
What a perfect fit.
He's still a very good player. I know he fell out of favour and he got pushed out at the Dogs. He was an All-Australian a couple of years ago. He's still got football in his legs. He's a good accumulator. Crouch was. So that ticks all my boxes there. Defence is their issue. They're going to have to find something to replace Battle. They gave Dougal Howard another year, but he's not their first pick they want. So I think the Saints, as you know, the Zach Merritt thing was floated. They've been linked to a lot of big names.
They're on the hunt, aren't they?
Gubby and Sauce are sitting there going, we just want
They are
to go
going to be a
big.
watch.
Let me go big.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I think McRae's the best in so far for them.
Well, that's it. And he was delivering huge numbers in the VFL. So as you say, while it may not have worked out at the Bulldogs.
I think he's a great pickup.
Yeah, I think
he'd play, if his body's right, he'll play the
Doesn't come cheap, and I don't think the Dogs are going to help.
They've got a bit of money, though, in that sense, haven't they? So
that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, now, West Coast are yet to appoint a senior coach, of course. Which
Slight
is
concern when you're trying to attract players.
a slight hurdle when it's coming to trade period, but they're well underway in that process. But they're going to be busy, aren't they? I mean, they've got Tom Barrass to deal with. Obviously, Jack Darling has now made his intentions clear that he wants to get to Arden Street. So there's a few moving parts over West as well.
Yeah, there is when you look at that. I was a bit anti the Jack Darling thing, but I'm sort of coming around to it now.
Oh, our man Jay Clark not happy.
So, no, I can get that, but I'm starting to come around a little bit.
I can live with it.
I can, because I think they need someone there to help Larky. He needs help. He needs help. The interesting one is Liam Baker. What's going on with Liam Baker? We want to know whether he is going to get to West Coast. That's interesting. They're fascinating to watch.
Yep.
Jack Graham, does he get there? Again, it could depend on who's the senior coach and whether Minnie McWalter gets that gig, because those interviews are going on right now. They're getting heavily into those interviews. Shea Bolton, Scotty, probably wants to go, the Dockers. But could the Eagles just jump in at the last minute?
Well, if McWalter gets the job, he's got to be straight on the phone to him and Baker, surely.
But this is where it's funny. I need to get back to West Australia for family reasons. Oh, but only one of the West Australian clubs. Like, Jay, maybe...
I want to live on that side of town,
Exactly.
maybe.
Yeah, I like it. The Adelaide Crows and Port Adelaide, I reckon.
They're going for the same players, mate.
This is fantastic.
This is what you say about just wanting to get back to South Australia. So suddenly it's sort of a bit of speed dating interviews.
I reckon we're looking at a trade week showdown that they might need to settle in the car park of the Ramsgate Hotel. I reckon that's what could happen. You're looking at it, you've got Harry Perryman, you've got Isaac Cumming, you've got Jack Lukosius, all of them sort of having a...
We think Cumming is the Crows.
Correct. That's the most direct one there as well. And Perryman might be. There's a few clubs who are still looking at Perryman. Might be Port Adelaide. But they are looking at very similar type players. Lukosius, Adelaide's got more money than Port Adelaide in that sense to take Lukosius. I wouldn't be paying him a fortune.
Well, all three are going to get overs. I mean, they're nice players. They're nice players.
Who wins in the Ramsgate car park, do you think, in terms of trade negotiations?
I think Adelaide. I think they've got more cash. I think they're going to get
there we go.
They've got more ways to do deals too.
And you think that's worth more than maybe a premiership window? Because I know Robbo was saying last night on AFL 360 that Kenny definitely will be coaching. They're obviously in a prelim final. You know, the window potentially is going to stay open for them. It'll be interesting, won't it, to see players that maybe want the money versus maybe a shot at a flag.
I think the Crows disappointed. I thought they'd make the 8 this year. So they're on a trajectory. I think they've got a list to be a finals contender. So potentially in 2 or 3 years they could have that spike. Yeah, I don't know.
Are they going to meet somewhere in the middle, these two teams? Adelaide going up, Port going down. You don't know. It's going to be fascinating.
It'll be interesting. Geelong.
Wow.
Well, they are always interesting,
They keep doing it.
Firstly, if you don't barrack for Geelong, this must be incredibly frustrating to see that they just put themselves front and square for the top names in the game. We know that Bailey Smith is obviously been sort of touted that he wants to get to Geelong. We've had Jack Martin mentioned in recent days. They just not only managed to put themselves front and square for premiership chances, but as I say, for these big names, it's quite incredible.
Well, it's a destination club, Bailey, out of Melbourne, down the country. We know all the selling points, but a first-round pick for Bailey Smith and maybe some tinkering, that's a great deal.
Yep.
Let's be like their midfield. They're going to potentially win a grand final with the midfield they've got, but Danger's getting old. He wants another 2 years. get Bailey Smith, the running machine, in there.
Absolutely.
And then Jack Martin, you mentioned him. He comes for nothing. They get him in.
Yeah, correct.
He replaces Gary Rowan potentially as that pseudo forward who's capable of kicking 30 goals. They're just too good.
And I asked about Bailey Smith and his fitness at the moment, and he's ready to go. Bulldogs are finished now, so he's ready to go. And
Never looks really unfit.
And Jack Martin's worth a punt. As you say, he's worth a punt. His body is a concern. He has barely played over the last 2 years, but he's got really good footy smarts.
The thing about the Cats, and I did something during the week, was
Yep.
they think the kids they've got, these no-namers, they've got another batch
Yeah, they have.
who have barely played.
Wow.
So that's where Stephen Wells, the statue,
Seems unfair,
it all
Loz,
makes
doesn't
sense.
Oh, they're beating the system.
They're keen. They've got another good batch coming.
Hey, quickly, just on Hawthorn, a.k.a. Hockball.
Yep.
Jared Ruffhead's obviously been pretty busy in his new job as a list
And we
boss.
did say earlier this year that he gets a little slice of the money there too.
That's it. So he might be cashing in for Christmas, old Ruffy. But Josh Battle in,
Yep.
Tom Barrass potentially in, so he
Massive.
might have a little bit of tinkering left to do.
Yeah, a little bit of tinkering, but both of those will happen. And if you look at that, that is outstanding from their perspective. What they're bringing in exactly what they need. They will be very competitive top four next year.
Fantastic.
To throw those two in after what we just saw in the
Sensational.
finals. Well done, Steve.
Lock it away.
Yep, nice little cherry on the top there. Fantastic work by you guys. You'll be all across the trade news, of course, at heraldsun.com.au, and we'll keep you updated at the midweek tackle.